Oh my God! What? Dude, I didn't even know that. Get him, Doug! Yes! Oh! Okay, Pence! I like this. This is fun. Talk to me. Hello?
All right. Hey, everybody. Here, let's go.
Before we get started, how do I say your name?
Edinger Mentum. It's a hard G.
Okay. Edinger Mentum. Ladies and gentlemen, Edinger Mentum building. One of Felix's buddies. You might know him from his Substack or the Chapo Trap House, where he's made appearances. You're the election whisperer.
Yeah, I got one election right. But the thing is that I got one election right, but I'm the only person who follows elections who isn't an annoying liberal. So
that is also kind of true. Yes. I don't know. We got a lot of contenders. What are your expectations from tonight? Whose performance are you most excited to see?
Well, I want to see if Vivek can kind of because Vivek's performance during the first debate was one of the most hotly debated of all of the contenders. Everybody was excited to see him. And everybody thought he did well, but his numbers have actually gone down quite a bit. He's went from polling at 6% to polling at 3%. So it may be like a flop error for Vivek. His edgers, it's very bad news for his edgers on TikTok. And Haley actually went up a lot after the past debate. Vivek has got to kind of turn the ship around. DeSantis is I think it's kind of a lost cause for him. I did a lot of background research into his life. He's basically kind of a born loser. But the rest of it is it's interesting to keep track of for who could be a Trump vice president pick, which I think Vivek was kind of running for, Haley is running for, and I think that's going to be the main battle of the night, I think.
The Desis are rising up, finally. Mm-hmm. The Desi fifth column infiltration is finally complete.
Yeah.
Just like the Turks did in the UK. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna unmute it now, and we're gonna go into the debate because it's starting now.
Voters say they dread the 2024 election and find politics exhausting. 2 in 3 Americans think the country is on the wrong track, and 3 in 4 say the economy is not in good shape.
Prices are up 18% since 2020. More than half of the U.S. population has little access to childcare. 85% of Americans say their personal finances are a source of stress.
Who's going to kill more babies? Which one of you will kill the most American children?
President Biden is trying to do that with Bidenomics.
And yesterday, he joined the picket lines where auto workers are demanding.
I hate that they're doing this triple thing. It's very weird. I don't like it. It's weirding me out. Ron DeSantis' wife is right there.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you've said you really empathize with the strikers. You're standing next to Senator Scott.
Chat, blast this off.
Do you agree with what he said, or do you think he's wrong?
I'll say that I don't have a lot of patience for the union bosses. I think that's where he and I actually have a common view. I do have a lot of sympathy for the workers, however. People are going through real hardship in this country. So I understand that hardship is not a choice. But victimhood is a choice, and we choose to be victorious in the United States of America. You know what, if I was giving advice to those workers, I would say go picket in front of the White House in Washington, D.C. That's really where the protest needs to be. Disastrous economic policies that have driven up prices, that have driven up interest rates and mortgage rates, at the same time wages remaining stagnant. What we need is to deliver economic growth in this country.
He's too much of a debate nerd.
Energy. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear energy, put people back to work by no longer paying them more money to stay at home, stabilize the U.S. dollar itself, and rescind a majority of those unconstitutional federal regulations that are hampering our economy.
Vice President Pence, last week you said you side with American workers, but you also support how these companies operate. Which is it?
Look, I do disagree with something Tim Scott just said. Joe Biden doesn't belong on a picket line. He belongs on the unemployment line.
Nice, dude.
Look, I'm from the second leading manufacturing
comedy is illegal in evangelical Christianity, I think.
I was governor.
He looks way more dead today, maybe because he's not next to Asa Hutchinson.
Let's get rid of unfair distortions like the state and local tax that they give to wealthy people in blue states and paid by red states. And let's make sure we make the small business taxes permanent. They only made those temporary. They made the corporate taxes permanent. Let's focus on what it takes to get more cash in the pockets of workers.
Bro, Nikki Haley is like the inside terrorist, dude. I swear to God. She keeps cutting commentary for Joe Biden.
Allow me to.
The fuck? She literally.
Allow me to.
I'm sorry, I have to jump in because we're missing the point, and every other network is missing the point. The reason why people are striking in Detroit is because Joe Biden's interference with capital markets and with free markets. The subsidies, we're subsidizing the automakers and we're subsidizing the cars, and a particular kind of car, not every car. We're subsidizing electric vehicles. And when you decide that we're going to take all of your taxpayer monies, take $1 billion, subsidize a certain type of vehicle, and the batteries come from China. China controls 85% of the rare earth minerals. They're called rare earth because they're measured in parts per million. China is moving 100,000
Okay, maybe a little too nerdy. Dial it back. You're sexy. Dial it back.
Vice President Pence warns that politics of, quote, Trump's populist protégés, like Mr. Ramaswamy, are a road to ruin for the GOP. If the government shuts down, should voters blame populist Republicans?
Voters should blame everybody who's in Washington, D.C. They get sent down there to do the job, and they've been failing at doing the job for a very long time. During the Trump administration, they added $7 trillion. $7 trillion in national debt.
Let's go. It's national debt time. These are in his basement. Typical Republican talking points to hammer home, baby.
And Donald Trump
everybody loves this shit. In the post-Trump world, nobody gives a fuck.
And won't show up here to answer questions like all the rest of us are up here to answer. He put $7 trillion on the debt. He should be in this room to answer those questions for the people you talk about who are suffering. And if the government,
he's coming for New Hampshire, baby. He's gunning for that second spot. He's going to get 12% of the vote in New Hampshire, and then it's the Christie train,
who has failed to do their job and just plays to the grandstand.
The next question is for Governor DeSantis.
If we want to get things done, here's how we get it done in Washington. We must find a way.
Can we please respect the time?
What the fuck's happening?
Governor DeSantis, you haven't spoken, please.
The people in Washington are shutting down the American dream with their reckless behavior. They borrowed, they printed, they spent, and now you're paying more.
You're boring the hose.
They are the reason for that.
Boring, Ron.
Governor Christie, as governor of a non-border state in 2010, you supported a path to citizenship. But when you ran for president in 2016, you flipped, saying immigrants should be tracked like FedEx packages. Where do you stand now on a path to citizenship?
Oh my God!
11 million of undocumented immigrants.
Well, the problem is that since no one has done anything since we first had this discussion,
dude, I didn't even know that.
We're not in a position to be able to do any of that anymore. What we have to do now is first treat this like the law enforcement problem it is. Our laws are being broken every day at the southern border, every day. And Joe Biden and his crew is doing nothing.
That is going to be the greatest polling that Chris Christie has ever, by the way, received.
Governor DeSantis, China invested $12 billion in Latin America just last year. They signed strategic partnerships with 7 countries, including Mexico. And China's military ties to the region now include arms sales and training exercises. Are you comfortable with China deepening ties with our southern neighbors?
Of course not. And the reason why we're in this mess is because elites in D.C. for far too long have chosen surrender over strength when it comes to the CCP. Some people in our country got rich, our industrial base got hollowed out, and they have been able to build the second most powerful military in the entire world. We need a totally new approach to China. We are going to have real hard power in the Indo-Pacific, like Reagan, to deter their ambitions. We're going to have economic independence from China, where we're decoupling our economy. And we are going to go after the cultural power they have in this country. As governor of Florida,
so what happens? Do the liberals hear this and go, "Oh my God, I'm so horny. I might vote for Ron DeSantis"?
All across these United States, we shouldn't have them in our universities. We shouldn't have Confucius institutes.
Wait, what?
So you see a country in decline. Our power's in decline. China's going to surpass us this decade, and if they do that, that's going to affect every single American household. As your president, I am not going to let that happen. I'm going to reverse this country's decline. We are going to choose strength, not surrender when it comes to the CCP.
Did you just say we're banning the Chinese from our universities?
Universal deportation for all undocumented immigrants and their children, even if the children are citizens of the United States. Under what legal premise will you expel U.S. citizens?
So the first thing I want to say is I agree with everything the Republicans on the stage are on the right side of this issue. Militarize the southern border, stop funding sanctuary cities, and end foreign aid to Mexico and Central America to end the incentives to come across. But I do go a step further. You're right about that, Ilya. I favor ending birthright citizenship for the kids of illegal immigrants in this country. Now, the left will howl.
Dog, you're brown. What the fuck?
The difference between me and them is I've actually read the 14th Amendment. What it says is that all persons born or naturalized in the United States.
Bro, you are not a part of the team, dog. You are not a part of the team. The people that want to do that want you out too.
The kid of a Mexican diplomat in this country enjoys birthright citizenship. Not a judge or legal scholar in this country will disagree.
Boys, I'm losing it. I'm losing my citizenship. If Ramaswamy becomes president,
then neither does the kid of an illegal migrant who broke the law to come here.
So the challenge that we face is, in fact, one that has to do with whether or not the people that come here are under the jurisdiction of our laws. And frankly, if you come here illegally, you are not. Now, so
dude, every debate devolves into who's going to murder more immigrants. It's crazy to me. He's like, they have no laws. Like, you're not supposed to be protected under our laws, which they are. Undocumented migrants, asylum seekers are absolutely protected under the law, for the record. It is the law to protect them. They have rights. Everyone has rights.
Vice President Pence, in 2017, the Trump-Pence administration canceled DACA, which put the legal status of 600,000 Dreamers in the hands of the courts. Dreamers work and they pay taxes. As president, if the Supreme Court ends DACA, would you work with Congress to reach a permanent solution for Dreamers?
Well, first, let me say I'm glad Vivek pulled out of his business deal in 2018 in China. That must have been about the time you decided to start voting in presidential elections. So,
okay, Pence.
So, let me speak.
Damn, they didn't even hit in that audience. These guys don't appreciate good commentary.
I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy with the Mexican government. We used economic power to bring the Mexican government to the table. We built hundreds of miles of border wall. And despite what's said here today, we reduced illegal immigration and asylum abuse by 90%. And as president,
to be fair, that doesn't really matter. Most Trump hogs don't care. Yo, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
All right. So what do you? How do you feel about that? I mean, right off the bat, as a Burgumaniac, I do feel like he didn't get a lot of speaking time at all. Like he
looked fantastic. He looked as fantastic as usual. He looked like sexy Brezhnev. It was like really everything all the Burgumaniacs want.
Yeah, America needs like a sexy president with bushy eyebrows. Like that shit needs to come back.
And he should be president for like 40 years, and then we should fall apart. We need to have a Brezhnev. I would go so hard for him. I'd be part of his KGB.
Okay, so everyone's performance is I mean, I don't know. They're definitely it's bad, but they definitely dialed back.
Yeah, all the planned Vivek pot shots, that was kind of sad.
Yeah, Mike. It's always fun to see Mike Pence try to get in on the action because despite being a radio guy, he is the least charismatic person alive.
He wasn't getting shit from them. They didn't like anything he was saying. They thought the audience did not give a fuck.
Which is wild because like they presented this as like, at least the Republican strategists that I was listening to presented this as like a much more sane debate in comparison to the former the previous Fox News one. So that's like supposed to be Mike Pence's crowd, and no claps for that kind of thing. I mean, they're gonna eat up whatever Nikki Haley puts down, it seems. Oh, the thing that before we got started, the thing that I wanted to say was I think that Vivek is really fucking nerdy. Like he's a debate guy in the worst ways possible. And I think that does not translate too well to a broader audience. Like at first I thought he's saying all the right talking points and he's like glazing up Donald Trump. And I think he's going to see some benefits out of that. But like the more he talks, he has like a Ron DeSantis style negative appeal.
Yeah. The more people see him, especially in the Republican Party, because it's so like there's like no college educated voters left in the party now. If he was like a Democrat and he was doing his shtick as a Democrat in a primary like this, I think he'd probably do better because all the nerds are Democrats now. But like Republicans now, the hogs, they don't want to hear that shit. They don't want like Model UN like super delegate like going crazy like that. They don't want it.
Yeah. And I think it completely loses the essence of why Trump is successful because he doesn't do that like petty debate shit.
No,
he doesn't do that at all.
He had so many great moments in 2016. He called Rand Paul ugly. He said he was going to fall off the stage. He just insulted people. It was
exactly.
It was fun. It was like fun.
He's charismatic. Whereas Vivek is like, actually, you're wrong. You know what I mean? This is what we're gonna do. Like, even when he's advocating for like borderline, I mean, definitely unconstitutional, borderline fascist policies. Like, he's doing it in such a fucking nerdy way. Like, he's Indian Blake Masters was my assessment originally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Blake Masters had more serial killer vibes. I think he wasn't even really a nerd. He just is just like an evil essence. There's a lot of like really funny stories like during the midterm where like they'd show like Blake Masters to focus groups and they'd all like kill themselves, and like all the all the Republican fundraising people say we have to like completely cut bait. We can't give them any money. But Vivek is like. When you do the thing like you're saying, we're to deport all the legal immigrants, you need to talk about how you're going to get rid of everybody. You don't talk about how, it's actually legal under the 14th Amendment. They don't care about that. They don't even know what that is. Like, you're not talking to the right audience here.
Yeah, which, speaking of never talking to the right audience, Chris Christie seemingly is like running for the Democratic primaries for the most part until this quote came out. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I got it. All right, let's get back into it.
And Donald Trump should be here to answer for that, but he's not. And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here
No, he's
tonight,
not. He's literally talking.
Not because of polls and
He's
not
live.
because of your indictments. You're not here
Let it
tonight
go, little bro.
because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
All right.
No.
Governor Burgum, for the first time ever, a Univision poll found that mass shootings and gun safety are one of the most important issues for Latino voters.
Bro, she's like...
Mental health concerns are not unique to the United
States.
States.
She's like the insider
but
there.
Gun violence is. What is your specific plan to curb gun violence?
But all these cities that we're talking about that you showed the videos of tonight, they have some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So we know that that's not what's working. But what we have to do is get back to the core issues about the family. We have to get back to behavioral health and mental health. We've got to get back to actually enforcing the laws these people talked about. And like we've done in North Dakota, where we've got the goal and we're on the track to be the most military-friendly state in the nation. We've got the most military and the most support of what we're doing in terms of law enforcement, because the morale is down because we've been defunding the police, because they've been attacked in the press. The police have become the bad guys when they're the one. There's all these jobs available in America. Why would you be a policeman if people don't even respect them? Every time I see a policeman, the first thing I say is thank you. And so does everybody else in my family and most of the people in our state, because they know we have to respect the people
he's doing the
that are defending us every single day.
Can I answer the question on mass shootings?
Mr. Ramaswamy,
he said every time I see one, I suck them real hard. Suck the soul out of their dick.
Is seized at official border crossings, and 57% of the smugglers are U.S. citizens. How would you stop fentanyl brought into the country, mostly by U.S. citizens, through ports of entry?
Damn,
There's two sides
Univision
to this,
is
and we have to
woke,
be very
dude.
honest about it. One is we do have to seal that southern border. Building the wall is not enough. They're building cartel-financed tunnels underneath that wall. Semi-trucks can drive through them. We have to use our own military to seal the Swiss cheese of a southern border. But we also have to be honest. There's a demand-side problem in this country, too, a mental health epidemic. I met family
Kill
in
the
Iowa.
drug
Two
consumers.
parents, Kathy and Derek.
Faster.
They lost their...
I'm going to use the U.S. military to go after the Mexican drug cartels. They are killing our people. And the stories that I've seen in Florida, we had an infant, 18 months. Parents rented an Airbnb. And apparently the people that had rented it before were using drugs. The infant was crawling, the toddler was crawling on the carpet and ingested fentanyl residue and died. Are we just going to sit here and let this happen?
Ron DeSantis needs to stay away from baby-related personal anecdotes. He just comes across like such a weirdo every time.
Also made that same promise in 2016. And at that time, Trump-Pence had congressional majorities for at least the first 2 years, and you did not deliver on that promise. So Obamacare, right now, it is more
that baby was a cop.
than ever.
As a cop
Why
baby.
should Americans trust you if you become president to fix that, or is Obamacare here to stay?
Well, first, let me speak to the mass shootings issue, and then I'll answer that question. It's an important one, Dana. And as a father of three, as a grandfather of three beautiful little girls, I am sick and tired of these mass shootings happening in the United States of America. And if I'm president of the United States, I'm going to go to the Congress of the United States, and we're going to pass a federal expedited death penalty for anyone involved in a mass shooting so that they will meet their fate in months, not years.
This is so stupid because mass shooters already killed themselves, stupid. It's not like they're doing it to get away with it like a crime of thrill. He's like, we're going to shoot mass shooters extra hard.
Justice and send a message to these would-be killers that you are not going to live out your days behind bars. You're going to meet justice in this system.
But does that mean Obamacare is here to stay?
Okay, it's getting worse. I feel like the debates are getting worse. Not gonna. It's just
the Univision moderator is actually asking a lot of good questions. Like, credit to her. Like, honestly.
Yeah, she's woke. She's secretly. At first, I thought I was gonna make a joke, like, "Oh, she's woke because she's, like a brown woman," but no, like actually, she's doing
a good job.
Yeah, she's the one who also comes in with like factually accurate takes, which is odd. Like, like before the question, she'll be like, "American citizens are actually trafficking the fentanyl over the border. Like, how are you gonna deal with that?" Yeah. Which is not something that you would ever expect from a Republican debate, because while it's factually accurate, what's up?
Our Fox.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it's factually accurate, it's precisely not what you would expect to hear from the Republican debates. So, not that it matters, because like they keep avoiding talking about it. They just like jump over it immediately and move on to whatever the fuck they want.
The Obamacare question was really funny. He just completely avoided it.
Yeah,
they're being so mean to her.
They haven't really mentioned a single. They haven't really answered a single one of the questions. It's just like it's like a talking point machine, which I guess like makes sense. That's what it's supposed to be. I do suspect that this debate in general, maybe due to not having a lot of marketing around it, maybe due to the fact that the first debate panned out in a not very productive way, with Trump not being there, is going to have abysmal ratings, I think.
Yeah, and I can't tell who's even winning by the standards of what this is supposed to be. Like, I think the only memorable moment is when they started talking over each other. Yeah. And that'll just make it look less legitimate and more ridiculous, and it'll just help Trump look like the only serious contender, which he is. So I don't think any of them are winning right now.
The anti-EV stuff is kind of wild too. I mean, I guess like a lot of this stuff, a lot of the talking points aren't like invented by Donald Trump. It's usually by like the American Enterprise Institute or the Heritage Foundation, and it like makes its way to these candidates. But they're going extra hard on EVs, I suspect, due to due to like the IRA.
I think it's the union, like the strike going on right now. Because one of the things that the union people are saying is that the UAW is that we want you to unionize the people who are working on the new vehicles, because that's not what's happening right now. And they're they're like lying about that, and they're saying, oh, the electric vehicles are taking away the jobs. It's like, no, it's a point of contention, but it's not like an actual issue.
Well, as far as parts goes, they're not technically wrong. Like, obviously EVs will have less parts.
Then just produce more cars.
Yeah, but also it's ironic because like it's more competitive if we do engage with EVs and not let China take over completely. But of course, it doesn't matter. Well, it's getting started again.
Your home state still has not enacted universal school choice, and even the current expansion won't be fully implemented until 2027. Parents can't wait 4 years for a fix. So what would you do right now?
Well, and school choice isn't the only answer, but I'll tell you, it's not out of a lack of trying that we didn't try and get school choice in South Carolina. What I'll tell you, first of all, is we have to acknowledge the fact that 67% of our 8th graders are not proficient in reading or math. Over 80% of our 8th graders aren't proficient in history or civics. And
I wonder why
they came out and said our
abolish
12
the
and
education
13-year-olds
department
are scoring at the lowest levels they've been scoring in reading and math in decades. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to make sure we catch our kids back up. We have to make sure they can read. We need to make sure that we have school choice so that there's competition. We need to move all the programs from the federal government down to the states and let states.
There's not a single nation on the planet where privatization initiatives have actually helped with educational outcomes. Not a single one in any developing nation or developed nation. Not
Kids
a single
building the things that
example.
we know that we can.
The only examples are out there are departments of education that have moved towards privatization initiatives like in Sweden and have actually yielded negative outcomes on their educational outcomes, which immediately made them go back and change that.
Over 10.7 million students in over 18,000 public schools nationwide have the ability to change their identity without parental notification. Governor Christie told Stewart last week that he would pass a federal law to protect parental rights. Would you try to do the same?
I have to be very clear about this. Transgenderism, especially in kids, is a mental health disorder. We have to acknowledge the truth of that for what it is. I met 2 young women early in this campaign.
Specifically on parental rights in schools.
Parents have the right to know. And you know what the hypocrisy of this is? Even New Hampshire failed to actually get past a piece of legislation here. The very people who say that this increases the risk of suicide are also the ones saying that parents don't have the right to know about that increased risk of suicide. And I'm sorry.
No, it's the increase of risk of suicide comes from not getting proper medical care, which you're trying to shut off. These guys are the worst with the trans issues, especially. Like they use the restrictive processes they put forward as like the reason as to why they should further harm the people.
We made every school in North Dakota an innovation school. Every school got out from under the red tape, and the things that help teach the values that we're trying to get, like 4-H, like FFA, like Boy Scouts, they can get credit for all of that stuff in North Dakota. And by the way, North Dakota is now at the top of the median SAT scores in the country right now.
Vice President Pence. The Department
all
of Homeland
8 people
Security
from North
warns
Dakota.
That violence against LGBTQ+ people is on the rise and intensifying. According to a recent study, members of that community are 9 times more likely to be victims of violent hate crimes. As president, how would you protect this community from violent attacks and discrimination?
Well, as President of the United States, I'll stand up for the safety and the civil liberties of every American.
Even trans Americans?
And I want the American people to know that. But I want to answer the question as well, Dana, that you just asked Doug Burgum. Because by way of full disclosure, Chris, you mentioned the president's situation. My wife isn't a member of the teachers union, but I got to admit I've been sleeping with a teacher for 38 years. And
whoa!
Full disclosure, we're going to stand up for the rights of parents, and we're going to pass a federal ban on transgender chemical or surgical surgery anywhere in the country. We've got to protect our kids from this radical gender ideology
and adults,
agenda.
He's saying.
Mr. Ramaswamy, TikTok is banned on government-issued devices because of its ties to the Chinese government.
But you made a TikTok,
bitch. After dinner with boxer and influencer Jake Paul. Should the commander-in-chief be so easily persuaded by an influencer?
So the answer is I have a radical idea for the Republican Party. We need to win elections. And part of how we win elections is reaching the next generation of young Americans where they are. So when I get into office, I've been very clear. Kids under the age of 16 should not be using addictive social media. We're only going to ever get to declaring independence from China, which I favor, if we actually win.
I have to jump. I have to jump in here. I'm sorry. There's one person on this.
This is infuriating because TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have. And what you got, I honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say because I can't believe
oh my God.
You've got a TikTok situation. What they're doing is these 150 million people are on TikTok. That means they can get your contacts, they can get your financial information, they can get your emails, they can get text messages, they can get all of these things.
This is very important for our party.
Exactly what they're doing.
This is very important for our party, and I'm going to say
you've gone and you've helped China make medicines in China, not America. You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us. You went and you were in business with the Chinese that gave Hunter Biden $5 million. We can't trust you. We can't trust you.
Damn.
TikTok and
I think that this is very important.
Mr. Ramos.
Bro, this is fucking Desi on Desi violence right now. This is crazy. Oh! Yo, Nikki Haley is kind of nice with it.
Republican Party. If we're not sitting here hurling personal insults and actually have a legitimate debate about policy following Reagan's 11th Commandment in his honor. And the answer is that is 11th Commandment.
Shut the fuck up.
Today, the Republican Party is at odds over aid to Ukraine. The price tag so far is $76 billion. But is it in our best interest to degrade Russia's military for less than 5% of what we pay annually on defense, especially when there are no U.S.
Will the liberals consider that this is their position as well? Will the liberals in the chat consider that?
So at the end of the day, when you think about the fact that if you want to keep American troops at home, attack on NATO territory would bring us and our troops in. By degrading the Russian military, we reduce, if not eliminate, an attack on NATO territory.
They all have the liberal position. Every single person is a liberal. This is the bipartisan consensus.
The reality is just because Putin is Putin's an evil dictator does not mean that Ukraine is good. This is a country that has banned 11 opposition parties.
A win
that has
for
actually,
Russia is a
that
win
is not
for
true.
China.
We're driving
a win
Russia.
For Russia
excuse
is a
me.
win for China.
Excuse me, Nikki. You'll have
but
a chance.
I forgot you like China. That's why you're
You'll have your chance in just a moment.
Yeah.
The hurling personal insults isn't helping. China is the real enemy, and we're driving Russia further into China's arms.
Vivek, come in with that hot foreign policy.
Governor Haley, Mexico's president called who supports sending U.S. military into the country, quote, scoundrels. Mexico is the United States' most important trade partner and border security. You say you will send special operations to attack the cartels in Mexico. So, this means boots on the ground, drone strikes?
It means special operations. It's how we deal with our terrorists. And what you need to do is understand
Oh my God.
that Mexico's
they're invading
not
Mexico.
being a good partner.
Oh my
we
God,
lost
they're all invading
75,000
Mexico.
Americans last year. Mexico's not being a good partner if they're letting the cartels get away with what they're getting away with. What we will do is we will make sure that we send in our special operations and we will take out
that's so funny.
the
That's
cartel
literally what Putin said for
We'll
Ukraine.
take out anything that's doing it, but we're going to go after China because China is the one sending the fentanyl
Just
in the
a
first
special
place.
operation.
And we will end all normal trade relations until China stops sending fentanyl. And then we'll do the special operations and we'll get it from both sides.
We need to go to a commercial break. Reagan built a coalition that lasted decades. Can any of these candidates do the same? We'll take.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, I don't think so. All right, that's more of a shit show. One thing I will say, I mean, maybe you'll disagree with me on this, but I don't see like any standout player here. I guess like Nikki Haley.
Haley when she insulted Vivek when they
Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley had a good line, yeah.
I liked when Tim Scott said they let it happen on purpose. He listened to blowback.
Yeah. Also, Nikki Haley is, I mean, obviously it's bipartisan. The Ukraine situation is completely bipartisan. Everyone is literally, except for Vivek, who doesn't even take like a more reasonable position for some reason. That like even Trump knows how to like Trump will often read the room really well and say something along the lines of like, "Oh, I would fix it. I would handle it." Like it's fantasy. It's pure fantasy, right?
You do a deal. He's president deals.
Yeah, I do a deal in one day, 24 hours, it'd be over, right? But like going into, no, they need like billions more in weapons and funding and whatnot is, I don't think, very popular in the Republican the Republican voter base, especially in the primaries. So
no, it's not it's increasingly unpopular with voters in general, which I think a lot of like most politicians didn't anticipate, and it's especially not popular with Republicans because of negative polarization. They see it as a thing Biden is doing, and they say, well, we have to disapprove of that.
Yeah, it's this really unique predicament now where they all are still going to push the bipartisan line, but Vivek decides to just like come at it from the top rope and just be like, no, we should give Ukraine to Russia and then arm everyone in Taiwan and then give Taiwan to China. Like, I don't even, it's like a weird, he's like more focused on xenophobia and like hitting the anti.
This is a consistent thing with like the right versus the left where there's different kind of poles of militarism where the left are like, it's called the Yankee Cowboy War. There's like some like deep theory with this where the Yankees want to focus on Europe and shoring up Europe and NATO, while the Cowboys want to expand west. So you can track this all the way back to the Mexican-American War. This is like deep shit. And so Vivek is a cowboy and Biden is a Yankee. And there's no like actual like any decreased militarism here. He just wants to change the focus to more confrontation with China. So anybody
because the other ones want to focus on Mexico, which by the way I don't think is real, but
invading Mexico too, which is insane that they don't talk about that enough. Nobody talks about it, they just want to fucking invade Mexico.
Yeah, they keep saying special military operation, which is pretty funny because like Nikki Haley on the one hand will be like, Putin invaded Ukraine and it was so unjustifiable, it was totally fucked up, which he ironically also calls a special military project or a special, and then she uses the exact same fucking terms to talk about invading Mexico, which is psychotic.
Yeah. Nobody asked them how they're going to pay for that. You talk about any program and they're like, oh, how are you going to pay for it? And they just say, oh, we're just going to invade fucking Mexico. Well, how are you going to get money for that? They never ask them.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. Obviously, there's never any deficit or budgetary concerns when it comes to discretionary spending. That's when we're printing and it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's wild. It's ridiculous. They also are still hitting the, abolish the Department of Education, which they kind of scaled back on a little bit. Like they didn't go as hard, at least this time around, and hit the trans button way harder. But,
yeah, they've kind of backpedaled on that. It's because of my article. I exposed it because none of this shit never wins elections. It's really funny. People fucking hate
especially deficits, especially like budgets. Like we need to balance the budget or deficit. Like deficit hawking is so unpopular, even on the Republican Party side, because nobody gives a shit. It's all fake anyway. Trump kind of like blew that up entirely. All right, we're back.
Senator Scott, the national debt has nearly doubled in your time in office. The approval rate for Congress is at a mere 19%. If this were a business, you'd probably all be fired in Washington, but you're here tonight looking for a promotion. In 2013, Governor Haley hired you for the Senate. I'd like you to tell her why you should be promoted to CEO of the nation instead of her.
Certainly. One of the things I'd say is if you look at our national debt of $33 trillion, I would love to have an opportunity to have this country pass a balanced budget amendment. That would constrain the spending in Washington.
The fucking balanced budget, baby. That's what I'm talking about, Tim, you fucking virgin.
If you want to actually reduce our national debt, you have to grow our economy. In order
Hit
to
the
grow our
high
economy,
notes, baby.
You need to create about 10 million jobs to grow our economy at 5%. You can do that in 3 specific sectors. Number 1, the energy sector. We could create between 3 and 3.5.
Tim, you better balance some bitches, dog. What do you mean balance the budget?
Governor Haley, would you think you would deserve the promotion over him?
Look, I appreciate Tim. We've known each other a long time, but he's been there 12 years and he hasn't done any of that. He hasn't. They've only given 4 budgets on time in 40 years. He was part of that. He increased the national debt. He voted for the spending. He has made sure that the borders are open and they haven't done anything. Look at everything that's happened. 12 years. Where have you been? Where have you been, Tim?
I voted on most of those things.
We've waited.
I love that on the Republican side, it's about who's worse at doing politics. Like it's a race to the bottom. He's like, no, you don't understand. I stopped legislation from happening way harder than you.
I'm the only one up here who's gotten in the big fights and has delivered big victories for the people of Florida. And that's what it's all about.
Oh, God. California Republicans need to be fucking locked up, dude, for clapping at this clown man. Go live in Florida, you fucking losers, okay? Get the fuck out of my state, you fucking pieces of shit. Clapping at the dorkiest goddamn Republican on a sea of fucking darks.
We need a zero-based budgeting. That's the way businesses are actually run. Start with 0 as the baseline for the budget and then see what's actually necessary. There isn't a blue state or a red state in this union that does it. The federal government doesn't do it. But successful companies, including the ones that I've built as a CEO, will do it. And I think we need a CEO in the White House to get that done.
Governor Burgum runs a state that way. Yes, go ahead.
He says, shut the fuck up, Vivek.
Energy questions, you don't ask anything. But I'm just going to say right now, when you say nobody else has done it,
he said 0 budget. He's so crazy.
We're already doing it in North Dakota. The border plans they're already talking about. We've got troops down at the border flying helicopter missions from North Dakota, from San Diego to the Gulf Coast.
From North Dakota to South Dakota.
To stop transnational criminal organizations from inflicting the invasion and the mass casualties.
Burgum, you're the North Dakota governor. What do you mean, Border Patrol? He said my people are fighting at the border, dude.
Abortion was on the ballot in
He's literally, abortion finally. Oh my God, finally.
Republicans lost all of them.
I can't wait for Mike Pence to be like, we should kill every person who's a prospective mom who might even think about getting an abortion.
How are you going to win over independent, pro-choice voters?
Mike Pence is about to be like, we should kill moms in general.
We won the greatest Republican victory in a governor's race in the history of the state, over 1.5 million votes. We were winning places like Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach, that nobody thought was possible because we were leading with purpose and conviction. I reject this idea that pro-lifers are to blame for midterm defeats. I think there's other reasons for that. The former president, he's missing in action tonight. He's had a lot to say about that. He should be here explaining his comments to try to say that pro-life protections are somehow a terrible thing. I want him to look into the eyes and tell people who've been fighting this fight for a long time.
I want him to look at the baby in the pan, the size of a penny.
President and Mrs. Reagan, and I noticed that there was a quote where it says, every single person has purpose and worth. We're better off when everybody
he's bragging about winning
counts.
debates
And
before
I
he
think we
signs.
should stand for what we believe in. I think we should hold the Democrats accountable for their extremism, supporting abortion all the way up until the moment of birth. That is infanticide, and that is wrong.
I like that he's shitting on Trump and he's trying to do the Trump thing, but worse. That's the master, baby. You can't come after him like that.
The latest Univision poll found that 73% of Latino voters think the Republican Party doesn't care about or is being hostile toward them, the Hispanic community. Only Governor DeSantis has translated his campaign into Spanish. How will you reach out to Latino voters?
Well, I promise you that we're going to continue to build bridges to every community in this country. And I'm incredibly proud.
And we're going to build walls.
Tax cut and tax reform bill. I worked on Capitol Hill to help get that bill passed into law, the largest tax cut in American history. We saw literally the lowest unemployment ever recorded for Hispanic Americans, the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans, 50-year low.
Yeah, Trump did that. Mike Pence always hitting the fucking Trump lines,
dude.
dude.
Champion for
so
the
good.
American dream for every American. It begins with the unborn and the aged and the infirm, and it begins with every ethnic group in this country.
See? Bro, he's bringing it back to abortion. What a fucking freak. They gave him a layup by not asking him an abortion. He's like, no, I still got to talk about it.
What we need are leaders who lead by example. And I will simply say, I would love to finish my conversation with Nikki as it relates to the job that needs to get done. Nikki offered a 10% gas tax increase in South Carolina. Talk about someone who has never seen a federal dollar she doesn't like. 10 cents on the gallon in South Carolina. As the UN ambassador, you literally put $50,000 on curtains and a $15 million subsidized location.
Oh, shit.
You got bad information. First of all, I fought the gas tax in South Carolina multiple times against the establishment.
Just go to YouTube.
Against the establishment.
Just go to
and
YouTube
you want to know what that 10 cent was? When they wouldn't pass the gas tax, the establishment and the companies wanted me to do it so much that I said the only way I will pass it if you will give us
all you have to do is go watch Nikki Haley on YouTube.
If you will give me 3 times the deduction in income tax, then I will look at your gas tax, which is why it didn't happen.
Exactly, Ron.
Secondly, on the 50 million.
Here is a nice part.
Secondly, on the curtains, do your homework, Tim, because Obama bought those curtains.
Did you send them back?
It's in the press.
Did you send them back?
It's the State Department.
Did you send them back?
Did you send them back? You're the one that works in Congress.
Oh my gosh.
You get it
You
done.
hung them on your curtains.
They were there before I even showed up at the residence. You are scrapping. You are scrapping.
I'm not scrapping.
You know I fought
Here's a fact. Here's a fact, though.
I cut taxes.
Look at Ron. He's so sad. He looks like even Ron still looks like a bitch.
We do not intend to go ahead like this. In fact, we're about to take a commercial break. We'll have more of the second Republican debate live from the Reagan Presidential Library.
I don't understand how Ron DeSantis still looks like a bitch when it's fucking Nikki Haley and Tim duking it out, and he's just like crying in the middle, like.
They're talking about freaking like curtains. They're talking about curtains. It's insane. I don't even know what they're talking about. And this has gone. How long is this? Like 2.5 hours? Like, damn, this is like going on.
I feel like. I mean, I feel like the curtain stuff would be more like it would be a better attack line because like it's more personal, you know what I mean? If it was like something that was more known, you know what I mean?
The curtains more. I don't even know about that.
I don't know either. That's what I'm saying. Like he introduced it like something that people should know, and like he's like, Google it. It's like, nah, man, that doesn't work that way.
This is like hardcore shit. This is hardcore deep lore. This is like FromSoft. They have like item descriptions about the curtains.
Yeah, but Vanity Fair wrote about it in 2018. The State Department spent $52,000 on curtains for Nikki Haley's residence.
The school girl boss. She
So
deserved it. I'm glad I paid
she's
for
a boss
that.
bitch, and should win.
She's doing the graper face in the picture.
Yeah. Nikki Haley is the only standout here overall out of anybody that we've seen. Chris Christie, you and I were talking about it in the Discord, but like Chris Christie, I've been making jokes about how he's like running for the Democratic primary, and I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Like why he only goes on CNN, he only goes on MSNBC. He literally he
it's
almost
profound. I think he just feels bad for like sucking up to Trump for so long. I made a tier list of all of the Republican presidential candidates. That's like on my newsletter if you guys are interested in that. And when I got to him, I legitimately couldn't rank him. I had to create an unranked, like untiered hell. Yeah, that's the picture I used for him. And I have like captions for that. That was a real thing Trump said, but I couldn't like even find a thing for him. But that's what he looks like.
He is
Vivek
so unpopular. Like
he's the most hated man in New Jersey.
He is. Wait, he's literally the most. He has the lowest approval ratings out of any of the people running in the Democratic primary in every state, right?
Yeah, he's the most hated politician in the country. He
Yeah,
had a 15% approval rating when he left office.
It just doesn't make any fucking. It doesn't make any sense because like he also doesn't seem to be like running for the Republican primary. I don't know why.
He looks miserable.
Yeah, I said Democratic primary again. Sorry, Chad. Oh, so I mean, Ramaswamy, shut the fuck up a little bit on this one. I feel like Mike Pence is a bloodthirsty, psychopathic vampire who literally got a layup. Because like when they started talking about abortion, I was like, this is the trickiest, obviously, this is the trickiest point of contention. Even Trump can't triangulate around this like well enough where he goes, oh, I just wanted to start a conversation, which is like the biggest pussy shit you could fucking say. Because like on the one hand, he wants to take credit for it, but on the other hand, he knows that like everyone hates him for it. You know what I mean? Like 70% of the country is like, fuck this shit. And it's going to be the winning issue for the Democratic Party unless they like somehow magically fuck it up. I don't know how.
Well, they kind of are with Biden because everybody fucking hates him.
Yeah.
That's like the one, which is really annoying that I've kind of been stuck on.
I think this probably got to be the last one, right?
Candidates.
I think I've been the only one on this stage who's been clear about this. I vote Donald Trump off the island right now. And the reason I vote him off the island,
but any of the people on the stage,
you know what? Every person on this stage has shown the respect for Republican voters to come here to express their views honestly, candidly, and directly, and
They're
to
such
take your questions honestly.
civility libs,
for
dude.
every man and woman
Brave.
on this stage because they've done it. Vivek, put your hand down for a second, would you? I still got time, dude. So chill out.
Call them dude.
Look. This guy has not only divided our party, he's divided families.
Can we get Vivek 15 seconds?
All right, you got 15 seconds, Vivek.
I appreciate your sense of humor. Look, I have a different view on this. I think Trump was an excellent president, but the America First agenda does not belong to one man. It does not belong to Donald Trump. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you, the people of this country. And the question is, who's going to unite this country and take the America First agenda to the next level? When we rallied behind the cry to make America great again, we did not just hunger for a single man.
Oh, God, nobody likes it. Nobody likes you, Vivek.
So yes, I will respect Donald Trump and his legacy because it's the right thing to do. But we will unite this country.
Oh, shit.
For the second Republican primary debate.
Oh, fuck. I think after Vivek, it like ended randomly.
No, it wasn't 5 minutes. It ended right after him. I was checking my feed. He just said like the thing about America first, belonging to everybody, and then it ended. So we didn't really miss anything.
Oh, okay. Overall, we were talking about Mike Pence and how he's like a psychotic right-wing freak.
Yeah.
That like
really old-fashioned style like type of. You don't see like those guys around anymore.
Yeah, which is odd because it's like they gave him a bit of a layup with the whole like, what would you do about the Latino voters or whatever, right? Like they switched off from the abortion topic and he was like, nah, dog, I'm still gonna talk about abortion actually, like, which was insane.
He believes in God like for real. He like is pushing a national abortion ban. He's not fucking around with it.
Yeah, he's I think it's because he's a convert. Like he's he's a born again. So it's like the scariest motherfucker.
He used to be a Democrat. He like volunteered for Jimmy Carter. So
yeah, he's actually out of his fucking mind. But yeah, as far as the abortion messaging goes, it's the most important issue. As we were talking, they left it to the end when like the least amount of people are watching. By the way, which goes to show you how little which goes to show you, in my opinion, that Fox News is very well aware that this is like a horrible fucking conversation to have, one that they need to have, but not one that they want to even talk about, really. Yeah. I feel like any state that has a ballot measure is going to get fucking is going to wipe the Republicans across the board. Like they're going to beat them mercilessly.
Yeah, that happened last year. They lost the ballot measures. They lost the ballot measure in Kentucky over abortion. Like it is really deeply popular everywhere. And I think they're trying to, like Arizona, I think is going to have a ballot measure about it. I don't know about other states, but that is a pretty smart move that they're doing there. The solution for Republicans is to just like recognize that they can't win on this battleground and they just agree to bring back Roe because like this is not tenable long term. And when I was listening to a lot of these questions, it kind of made me a little like a little longing for like like an alternate universe where like you could have like progressive candidates answering these questions, because the right doesn't have any answers to this stuff. They're only somewhat compelling stuff is like attacking Biden and his record. But like a lot of these questions, maybe it was just a Univision reporter being woke. I felt like you could have like had a really compelling progressive answer to those, and that was like felt a little like disappointing that it wasn't there.
I mean, it's not like Republicans don't necessarily have to have answers to any of these questions anyway, though. In most cases, like I feel like with Donald Trump, like he's great because he doesn't really talk about this shit that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has a very good way of getting all the television, like all the television boomers to feel like he's fighting the battles against the elite perverts who are like destroying and causing their grandchildren to not text them back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas these guys do not have that riz at all. Nikki Haley is the strongest contender for like old school Republican politics on the stage. So if that's like your flavor, if that's what you want, if you want like a real old school pre-Bush era around that same time frame, like Republican Party politics, like that's who you would go for, I guess. But overall, I mean, there's you know, this is a post-Trump Republican Party with who need to address the crimes that they've committed against the American citizens in the form of criminalizing abortion in red states.
Yeah, and all of this stuff that they've done. One thing I've also noticed that I thought was interesting is that all these people do, besides Vivek and DeSantis, all of them predate Trump. Like Christie, Haley, these are all people who were like rumored to run for president like in 2012. So there's not really any kind of forward-looking perspective here. And part of that is Republicans have just lost so many elections. They don't have any young talent. Like, seriously, just like people like Vivek are all of their young people. Yeah, the FedEx thing was insane.
Yeah, that line was like the only time Chris Christie had like a positive moment handed to him by the moderators. Really, like the whole we need to track him like FedEx is considered a big gaffe, right, for a New Jersey governor, or well, at the time, you know, whenever it was said, I don't really know, but overall, like he never says shit like that. If he said stuff like that, he'd be more popular, most likely, in the Republican primaries.
Yeah. He's had so many different careers. There was the period where he was trying to be like a blue state red governor. There was the period where he was trying to appeal to Republicans nationally. Then there was where he was like, he's just a total flip-flopper, which is why everybody hates him. He's the one unifying figure left in the country because everybody just thinks that he's terrible.
Yeah, especially when it's officially big boy season, and like being a big boy, in my opinion, yields positive results across the board. You know, it doesn't matter which party you're a part of. Chris Christie's the one guy who is not winning the big boy season lottery. Overall, I mean, it always feels silly talking about it. Like I do a tier list after the end of the debates. It feels unproductive even to do it after this one because like this was so bad. I feel like they're gonna cancel the rest of the debates unless Trump participates in them.
Tier lists are good. Yeah, I think Trump looked far more serious here. His presence was very notable, so that's an easy thing to put him up there to say that he just won that.
Yeah,
Asa isn't even there anymore. It was so sad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm conflicted on that because, like, on the one hand, I think it's funny to even have him on there, but on the other hand, he's very hard to look at. Like, he just straight up looks like a more lizard version of Mike Pence. So we got the debate runtime, or the tracker on who spoke the most. Vivek Ramaswamy at 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Ron DeSantis at 12 minutes and 8 seconds, which always is interesting because, like, Ron, I feel like, tries to speak not that much, but they do keep asking him questions.
Yeah, he spoke very low profile in both of these debates.
Yeah, even though he does get a lot of runtime. Tim Scott with 11 minutes and 21 seconds. Jesus Christ. Chris Christie at 10 minutes and 27.
Deep State took Doug out.
Yeah, Doug Burgum only got 7 minutes, which is criminal. Okay, Mike Pence had 9 minutes. Nikki Haley had 10 minutes. I would say, like, most beats per minute spoken, Nikki Haley is like, she's ripped them. She definitely came out on top.
She had that that kind of dynamic that Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg had, where like she just hated him, and that was fun to see. I take her side and Amy's side in both of those disputes.
Yeah, because we love women here, obviously. That's why.
Yeah.
Overall, really, really unproductive. I guess the EV conversation was like interesting as a way to deflect away from the UAW situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I don't know. What are your high moments here?
Haley definitely came across as like a far more polished and like professional politician than the rest of them. She was not. She also was, I think, like a lot more willing to take risks than they were. She had the line about Trump with the debt, and like where she just said Ramaswamy sucked and that she hated him And those, she like stood out there. Like those were definitely memorable moments. But I do think she's trying to play to win too much, where she's like outright kind of alienating Trump in a lot of ways, like especially like going against his record. So I don't really know what angle she's playing. It's like she's like has the right form, but not really like a really discernible like end goal. But the rest of them, it's just kind of a waste of time. DeSantis needs to be dominating this. He's obviously not. He was like getting talked over about curtains. It's just brutal. I don't know if he's gonna like win a primary or make it to a primary. It's just sad.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of this even is at this point. It just like, without Donald Trump, I don't even think that there's going to be enough eyeballs on the process. Overall, I'm just unimpressed. I'm unimpressed with the talent here on the Republican
I
field.
think Vivek is the only guy who's definitively lost the past two debates. Because Vivek had a shot, I think, of like really kind of like taking a strong second place and making himself like a real player in Trump world. But he's like kind of far away from that now, which is, you can really that was a personal failure on his part. Also, it was fun. Trump begged Sean Fain to endorse him.
Yeah. Oh, during the thing that he did in Michigan. Yeah. Okay. Came out looking better than before. No change from before. Came out looking worse than before. And then Asa Hutchinson was my tier for like, I put him in a separate tier because he was just abysmal last time, which
unranked hell. So, I think Haley probably looked better. Whatever kind of thing she's trying to do, I'd probably put her up there.
Yeah. No change from before. I'm afraid I'm gonna put Doug Burgum in this category.
Yeah,
with his
sleeper.
Whopping 7 minutes. Like I feel like his approval rating is not gonna go down. I guess like whatever marginal approval rating he has, but he's not winning anybody in that crowd either.
Yeah, I think Vivek came out looking worse than before. He had to admit he was annoying.
Yeah. There was that. I would say Ron DeSantis actually no change from before as well. I don't think he came out looking particularly worse, but he certainly did not look better either. Even though he did get a lot of claps, nothing more disgusting to me than freaks who live in California who fantasize about living in Florida. It's the most disgusting type of person in my opinion. Who just
just move there.
Just go. You freak. I hate that. They were like
they haven't won in 20 years. They haven't won since Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, they are like the most annoying type of reaction. People like, there's 4 million of you. Go fucking live somewhere where your vote matters. Okay, it's not gonna be here. Chris Christie came out looking worse than before. I guess. I mean, I'm gonna put him in the Asa Hutchinson category at this point.
Yeah, the Donald Duck line was so inspiring. I cried.
Yeah, that was really bad. Mike Pence had some decent lines in the beginning. Went full freak mode again at the end of towards the end of the debate. Doesn't really matter. I mean, he should be, if he wasn't Mike Pence and if his existence wasn't so contentious in the primary base of support, being the key witness against Donald Trump in at least one of the indictments against him and one of the cases against him, he could be able to like take ownership over every single Trump accomplishment on that stage. You know what I mean? As the VP, which he tries to do every time, but like he's Mike Pence.
Yeah, he betrayed him. He let the country down. He let this deal happen.
Yeah, so none of those guys are going to vote for him. So no change from before, I guess. And then Tim Scott, I would say worse than before.
Yeah, he got kind of big dogged by Nikki Haley. So you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, Nikki Haley is vicious. I don't know. Does this change your opinion on who you think might be a VP pick for Donald Trump at all?
No. I think he's probably going to pick the person who cheated on their husband. I have my VP tier list. I can
fucking Kristi Noem.
Oh yeah, Kristi Noem. Yeah, I think that she's still like the median pick, but like you can't like look over. I think Vivek looks way less likely to be like as a VP.
Oh, I never thought Vivek was going VP. For one reason.
Why? What?
His last name is Ramaswamy. You think he's going to be Trump true. Ramaswamy on the fucking campaign like merch? No shot.
That's true. It could have been just Trump Vivek, and he could have gone on the Morrowind fans.
Yeah, no, I thought like I always felt like Vivek was maybe because he had high aspirations and thought that he could get like a VP selection, which I never thought was going to happen for him, and like maybe they'd give him like a lower cabinet position potentially, but I feel like there's way better.
That I thought if Trump wins, he's going to get the ambassador against wokeness thing.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Do you think Haley has a shot at VP, or does she throw daggers at Trump too much?
She makes a lot of sense on paper, but I think if she was a bit more deferential to Trump, she could set herself up well. But she's trying to run a real campaign here, which just isn't working because it just pisses Trump off. it pisses the voters off. It's not like gonna work.
Thanks a lot for coming on, man. What do you want to plug?
Oh, at intermentum.news. If you guys are tier list fans, I got tons of tier lists. I got tier lists about Democratic presidential candidates. I got tier lists about the Republicans. I got a bunch of articles about like the election too, and like history. Well, there's only one thing about history, but it's a lot of the same stuff that we talk about here. Yeah, this is the Trump VP list. It's going to be paywall, but I do have the thing about you can get the thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I added a GIF about there, so I have like these kind of analyses about how terrible they are, and then yeah, so that's kind of like that's what you need to get to. I put about one thing every week. It's like really like my main thing now. I'm also on Twitter where I also post a lot about this stuff. But yeah, it's great coming on. It was fun to talk to you in the chat and everybody. It's fun.
All right, well, thanks for coming on, man.
See you guys.
All right, bye.